Welcome to Sports Love Media on YouTube. It's your guy Sports Love with another video today. This video is going to be covering high school baseball and high school soccer. The Alabama High School Athletic Association's high school baseball playoffs in classes 1A through 6A are currently in the third round of playoffs, and the baseball is in the second round of playoffs. For high school soccer, 1A through 5A and 7A will start round 1 this week, and class 6A will start round 2. So with that, let's get into this for coverage. In high school baseball, 1A, third round, South Lamar versus Sweetwater, Florala versus Brantley, Coosa Christian versus Appalachian, Hackleburg versus Summerton Christian. In 2A, Pike Liberal Arts versus Bayshore Christian, Reeltown versus Oriton, Mars Hill Bible versus Vincent, Whitesburg Christian versus Red Bay. In Class 3A, Thomasville versus Opp, Prattville Christian versus Providence Christian, Lauderdale County versus Gordo, Fayette County versus Westbrook Christian. In Class 4A, Bibb County versus Trinity Presbyterian, American Christian Academy versus Oak Grove, Westminster Christian versus North Jackson, Corner versus Deschler. Class 5A, Mobile Christian versus Tallahassee, Valley versus Holtville, Sardis versus Alexandria, Russellville versus Springville. In Class 6A, Baldwin County versus Hillcrest Tuscaloosa. Spanish Fort versus a team yet to be determined. Oxford versus Mountain Brook, Hartselle versus Athens. In Class 7A, for second round action for the high school baseball, it will be Central Phoenix City versus Baker, Fairhope versus Auburn, Bob Jones versus Thompson, Hoover versus James Clemens. Now we'll move to the Alabama High School Athletic Association playoffs for soccer. In the first round, we'll start with girls soccer, 1A through 3A. It will be St. Luke's Episcopal versus Providence Christian, Houston Academy versus Cottage Hill Christian, St. James versus Prattville Christian, Tuscaloosa Academy versus Alabama Christian Academy, Westminster Christian at Oak Mountain versus Collinsville, Donahoe versus Altamont, Danville versus Madison Academy, Whitesburg Christian versus Susan Moore. In 4A girls, it will be St. Michael's Catholic versus Trinity Presbyterian, Montgomery Catholic versus Orange Beach, American Christian Academy versus Fultondale, Aniana versus Montevallo, Jacksonville versus Cherokee County, Westbrook Christian versus White Plains, Mars Hill Bible versus Priceville, Westminster Christian versus West Morgan. In Class 5A, it'll be Gulf Shores versus Eufaula, Carroll versus Faith Academy, Elmore County versus Marbury, Sylacauga versus Brubaker Tech, John Carroll Catholic versus Southside, Springville versus Moody, Guntersville versus Russellville, East Limestone versus Arab. In Class 6A, girls' second round games will be as follows: Saraland versus Spanish Fort, Montgomery Academy versus Pike Road, Benjamin Russell versus Northridge, Briarwood Christian versus Helena, Homewood versus Mountain Brook, Gardendale versus Mortimer Jordan, Hartselle versus Decatur, Buckhorn versus Athens. In Class 7A girls, first round, St. Paul's Episcopal versus Daphne, McGill Tulin versus Alma Bryant, Dothan versus Smith Station, Auburn versus Enterprise, Hoover versus Oak Mountain, Spain Park versus Vestavia Hills, Grissom versus Bob Jones, James Clemens versus Huntsville. In Class 1A through 3A boys, for soccer, it'll be St. Luke's Episcopal versus Providence Christian, Houston Academy versus Cottage Hill Christian Academy, St. James versus Prattville Christian, Tuscaloosa Academy versus Alabama Christian Academy, Westminster School at Oak Mountain versus Donahoe, Collinsville versus Altamont, Susan Moore versus Tharptown, Tanner versus Geraldine. In 4A boys, it'll be St. Michael Catholic versus Montgomery Catholic, Trinity Presbyterian versus Bayside Academy. Montevallo versus Fultondale, Aniana versus Holt, White Plains versus Cherokee County, Westbrook Christian versus Jacksonville, Mars Hill Bible versus Westminster Christian, St. Paul II versus West Morgan. In 5A boys, it will be Gulf Shores versus Charles Henderson, Eufaula versus Faith Academy. Tallahassee versus Demopolis, Sylacauga versus Brubaker Tech, Moody versus Douglas, Southside versus John Carroll Catholic, Gunnersville versus AP Brewer, Russellville versus Boaz. In Class 6A for boys, second round action will be Spanish Fort versus Robertsdale, Montgomery Academy versus Pike Road, Calera versus Northridge, Briarwood Christian versus Pelham, Homewood versus Mountain Brook, Gardendale versus Pinson Valley, Fort Payne versus Gadsden City, Randolph School versus Hazel Green. In 7A boys, which will be round 1, it'll be Davidson versus Fairhope, McGill-Tulane versus Baker, Dothan versus Smith's Station, Auburn versus Prattville, Vestavia Hills versus Chelsea, Oak Mountain versus Hoover, Huntsville versus Bob Jones, Florence versus Grissom. Anyway, thank you for taking the time to hear who is playing who in the second round for Class 1A through 6A in baseball and round 2 for 7A, as well as the 1A through 5A and 7A first round of soccer, and 6A, it'll be round 2 for the boys and girls. With that, thank you for everything that you have heard today, and I hope that you have a great day. Please hit the like button, please hit the subscribe button, please hit the notification bell so you can be made aware of when I'm doing these updates regarding who's playing who in baseball playoffs and soccer playoffs, when I have sports action videos, when I have sports education videos, when I'm broadcasting live, or when I'm having breaking news that affects the sports world. Thanks and have a great day.